Hello, everyone, and welcome to round 9 of the FIDE Women's World Championship match. I'm joined by Grandmaster Rasmus Svane and Grandmaster Tums Kantāns. I promise I practiced that in the mirror a couple times this morning. How are you guys doing? How are you doing, Rasmus?
Good morning. Yeah, very excited to join you guys today again for what might be a decisive game today. The match is really looking very difficult, of course, for Tan. She needs to win 4 games in a row, so will be a big day today, of course.
Tums.
Y- Yeah, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jesse. Good morning, Rasmus. Good uh, to see both of you again here. Maybe for the last time, maybe not. We'll see. And excited to kind more like actually hopeful to see some exciting clash today. That hopefully Tan still has some willpower left in her to actually keep fighting today, and that we are not gonna see like a very dry game where Drew and June is completely happy with a draw, obviously, since that secures her the title, and Tan simply wants it to be over and goes for some very drawish line. And yeah, they both are just fine with a draw. That would be like probably the worst case scenario for today.
The worst case scenario for today, oh my goodness. Yeah, because I suppose it is really difficult trying to bounce back after 4 losses and with the black pieces and with it possibly being the last round. So is this like an Armageddon times 2 situation, only the other way around? I am very curious to know because everyone I've spoken to so far, and even live on stream, have said yes. The match is basically over and we will not be having another game tomorrow. If you were to give it a rough percentage, what is the chance we'll see a match tomorrow?
Uh, I think it's most likely that the game will either end in a draw or win. Probably a draw is most likely. But yeah, I think Tan will keep fighting. I think we might see a Sicilian probably today if I had to predict the opening. I would maybe give her like 15-20% to win today. But of course, she needs to win 4 games in a row. So if she really and then still win a tiebreak, so really for her to win the match, she kind of needs a miracle by now.
I think that the only chance for you in this kind of situation is to adapt a healthy mindset in a way, like to actually have a chance in a match, you have to disconnect yourself from the match and you have to play one game at a time. And this is like just a separate game, and you just try your best and you try to play a normal game without like thinking at all about what's happening next. Obviously, we're all human, and it would be all nice in theory to do it, but practically it's probably rather impossible to actually achieve.
Yeah, and in the opening, we kind of see what might have been the most likely thing for Tan to repeat her opening from the last game, because I think this Rosalima with e6, it's actually quite a good line to get a complicated game. I think it's not so easy to like force a draw here immediately, which is possible in many other openings. But yeah, this e6 usually leads to an interesting fight.
Although I expect that we are gonna see Ju and Jun repeating the d4 line that she played
Mm-hmm.
already. Yeah, she's very quickly playing now d4, and that one is probably. Oh no, rookie one, no
Yeah,
d4 this time.
Ooh. Could this mean
yeah.
that if a6, rather than taking on c6, we'll see a bishop f1?
Yeah, I think we are gonna see bishop f1 here. I'm pretty sure, and then there might be, depending on the way she wants to play, but there are those interesting lines somewhere also with knight g6 and f6 sometimes.
I
Sometimes not,
yeah.
but yeah. Or d5 immediately, the main line.
Yeah, d5 is the main line, right? Some e takes d5 and knight takes d5, I remember. d4. And okay, at least the structure is always asymmetrical, so black is getting chances to get a complicated fight, but of course will depend on how the opening will proceed to evolve. Like so far,
Could you show us this
But I
uh,
would,
line, maybe? I
Shu
just
is well
would love to
prepared.
see.
Yeah.
What happens after d5?
I don't know the theory here, how it
Oops.
continues actually. I remember there's some move knight f6 here also. If I'm
Yeah,
not
and then
mistaken. There might even be some bishop e3, knight d5 repetition, but okay, probably not. Probably Thomas knows this theory better here.
yeah, there's some bishop g5 moves you can include if you want to avoid repetition, but this line is very, very tough from black to be actually playing for something. Like, it's really very gets simplified if white wants to. They can exchange a lot of pieces and just be very, very safe. So I wouldn't be surprised to see here actually her choosing knight g6 as a move.
But I think in the game she already played knight d4 instead of a6, right?
Oh, knight d4. Okay, so that's another line. Just not opening the center immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the theory. I think there's some lines here with c3, right? And then maybe a6, bishop f1, knight c6. Is that correct? I don't remember. Yeah, I'm sure the players both prepared this. I think knight d4 is still one of the main lines.
Yeah, knight d4 is one of the main lines.
Prepared.
But since I wasn't exactly preparing it from the black side too deeply, then I don't recall precisely that the move orders. But yeah, I always confuse how you're supposed to set up the pawns against these double D pawns when you're playing from the white side. And like in every setup, there's some slight difference what you're supposed to do, and it's always just it's a problem for me.
There's no general rule? Oh my gosh. Okay, I thought it was just c3, sometimes d3, and hope for takes.
Sometimes it can be very, very tempting not to play c3, but be, for example, setting up something like this and trying to leave black with double d pawns. Just playing for the d4 pawn somewhere, like ideally setting up the pawn on f4, knight f3, and then bishop is somewhere just from b3, comfortably sitting there and doing his own stuff. And then you're just playing for the d4 pawn being weak. But I guess c3 is the most normal way to approach it.
Yeah, in general, I like the opening choice by Tan. I think she will get a game here for sure, but the problem might be that Ju will also be well prepared still. I mean, she could for sure expect this line when they already had this knight g7 and d6 Rosalima in the last game. She will for sure be prepared in this knight d4. Of course, she also had to prepare other Sicilians, like Tan also played second move e6 and so on, but she will be ready for this, I suppose, for sure.
Yes, if the match ends today, that means I'll have to put an extra week of work into preparing for my tournament. So that's another reason why I really want the match to continue. So bishop a4 here, or just bishop back?
I think bishop f1 because probably you don't want to give b5 with tempo for black. But yeah, bishop a4 is for sure also a decent move.
And probably even bishop d3 is a serious move as well here. But bishop
yes.
f1 would be the classic again.
No, maybe bishop d3 is the main line. I just don't remember the theory here, honestly. But yeah, this bishop d3 also looks familiar, but I don't know. Knight c6. Like, at least it looks like it can be attacked sometimes with knight e5. I think in general the plan for black is to continue here with bishop c5 and castles and try to keep the pawn on d4 and keep control of the square.
Yeah, like if black was to take on c3, then bishop on d3 would be very nice. Like, it's perfectly placed in this kind of scenario. If black plays knight c6 and keeps control over the d4 square, then you're not maybe that happy with the bishop standing on d3 just yet.
Yeah. Yeah, somehow, I don't know if it's here, but I do remember some knight a3, knight c2 maneuver sometimes. I have no idea if it's here. Probably it's just some half knowledge which might be dangerous in the game. Maybe Ju has similar half knowledge, but probably she will still be prepared. But I think she started thinking, right?
According to the chat, there is a game by Frederick Svane in with bishop d3 in this position.
Ah, it might be against Vilimir Ivic, maybe from this. Okay, probably has more than one game against Vilimir Ivic from this hybrid tournament. Actually, qualification for the World Cup. There used to be these hybrid tournaments in COVID times. Not since. I also played there, where you had to travel somewhere and then play from your laptop against other people from other countries. I think he played it there. Maybe,
What? That is insane memory.
Okay,
Wow.
I was playing in the same room, so
Oh,
I was walking
okay.
around and saw his games, and he's also my brother, so I kind of
Yeah.
know most of his games.
You should have just like left that information out. It sounded cool as is.
Yeah.
No,
But
that
I
is
think
really
that
cool.
I lost that game, so
Idea.
And answering to the chat, yes, of course, I did travel to the library in China to be commentating on this round.
Did you see the joke just above that? So it goes. Did you know that his friends like to play OTB with Rasmus? But when he went to study abroad, they could only play online. That is, they got the Erasmus experience.
yeah, very good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my eyes are watering from laughing. Oh, wow.
Okay, so she did play bishop f1, yeah? It did
Yeah.
look more logical. It was probably just some wrong knowledge from me in this bishop d3 move. Probably some lines where you went bishop d3 earlier, and then knight d4 came. Maybe some lines like that. I don't know.
I'm really happy that half knowledge is an actual thing, because I'm very used to combining lines where a combination of just bits and bobs of like remembering things can often be catastrophic for your position.
That's the problem. Yeah, this is this half knowledge can be very dangerous. Probably better usually when you don't remember the theory, just start thinking for yourself.
Exactly, using logic rather than trying to be fancy. Yeah.
Yes.
But the good thing playing with white pieces is usually that you can't go like terribly wrong. You can, you're still gonna be fine even if you confuse a little bit the setup.
Really? Because when you were
Yeah.
saying something like bishop on d3 and after d takes c, I thought that almost always you take back with the b pawn, and that way you have a future d4. But then you showed a line with d takes, and I wasn't sure anymore.
No, in general, you probably want to take back with the b pawn and preserve your center. Just in the other line where the bishop was placed on d3, you still had to lose a tempo with bishop c2 to play d4. So maybe black could have played with d5 there or something. So, but b takes c3 was probably also a fine move.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, but now probably I think white has to play a bit with some kind of idea, because long term, if black gets bishop c5, castles, and keeps control of this d4 square, then they might just get a very, very nice game here. So I think white needs to in some kind of way put pressure on this pawn on d4. That's why I remember some kind of ideas with b4, a3, knight c2 sometimes, but I don't really know if it's here.
Yeah, b4 I think there is something in this also, like somewhere in my mind there's just exactly not allowing bishop to come on this diagonal.
Mm-hmm. Another idea might be you can play bishop b2 and put pressure on the pawn on d4 that way. So probably that's a decent move here. I think also a4 b5 might be a plan long term, just to get control of this pawn square on d4, just to get the knight away from c6, and yeah, if you get control of that square.
No way she played your line though. Rasmus, we see exactly what you said with knight a3.
Yeah, and I half remember some theory, so it's probably not too surprising.
Well, knight a3 is, I think for today especially, the move nice, because if you go bishop c5, which I assume she's gonna go, I mean, we can force things a little bit, like even if you exchange on d4, but also we can just, okay, first we can get something like b4, I think, on the board, and then can we go now this bishop b2 or knight c2 immediately? And just, my plan was to basically try to take on d4, play rook b1, exchange the bishops, and hope for a draw somehow.
Yeah. But yeah, you sometimes have to be careful maybe of like d6, c3, queen f6 ideas. Maybe it might be too early here. Maybe I can just sacrifice a pawn or even queen d2.
I
Maybe
wanted
bishop
to.
e3 here or something. Yeah.
I wanted to make a joke, but I didn't want to dox Tom's. Have you disclosed your location to the community?
No, I mean, I think big part of the community does know where I'm located, yes.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if I make a joke then?
Yes, go on.
Okay. Yeah, you were trying to make b4 work so badly. Is that because you're in Poland at the moment? No, bad. Okay, let's just move.
Sorry.
On. No, because the Polish opening is with beef.
Oh, okay.
No. It was a bad one.
Orangutan, we call it in German.
Oh, orangutan. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
but Polish opening also.
Yes. Yeah. All right. We can move forward now and forget this moment ever happened.
Yeah, I am a bad target to be using jokes on. With especially first thing is I'm just not catching on to them too quickly, especially early in the morning. And second thing is I simply don't know the names of the openings.
Okay, chat also agreed it was a no piz, so we can move on.
So I was wondering a bit if we can actually play knight a3 because of bishop takes a3, but probably, I don't know, was the idea after this to take back? Or was the idea to play d4 here probably?
It feels weird to do this deliberately.
Slowly, maybe, in the pawn back. You mean from black or from white?
From white, playing knight a3 and allowing, double pawns on the a file, which I know is common sometimes in some lines just to get the bishop here.
But this is gonna be fine if you take the c3 pawn and everything. But I'm just wondering, isn't this also like totally okay for white with this super powerful bishop and this super bad bishop?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, if black could get d6, e5, maybe.
Yeah, but we always have a4, bishop a3.
Yeah, if you get your bishop to d6, then for sure white has a very good position probably.
And you cannot get rid of both d pawn and b pawn being weak, since a4 is gonna come and lock it all down. I would be very hopeful here in this position from the white side. That I'm not hopeful. I would be very optimistic that I'm almost winning. But that's just me being optimistic, I guess.
Yeah, I was just before wondering if knight a3 is good, but probably it's just because of bishop takes a3, but probably bishop takes a3 is just always a big strategic mistake anyway for black. So
a different pawn structure, but with so many pawns on the light squares, it could be just the problem that you do anything you want with white.
It's probably also how these b4 lines arise actually. After bishop c5, now this b4 and knight c2. Probably that's the theory. Yeah. I'm just still trying to figure it out.
But we have something completely else, yeah. She doesn't want any forced line. Or does she? I said that and then she played d5 immediately, so I'm not sure.
This is so counterintuitive because they always tell you, don't open the center unless your king is safe. And here we have the rook on e1 already, sort of looking down at the king. So d5 is still theory then?
I don't know. Yeah.
I
doesn't
think
look too familiar,
Yeah, we could be out of some mainstream theory for sure. Because bishop e7 is such a calm approach and everything, but it must have been her preparation. She's playing it quickly.
Yeah, she's still on 131. Yeah. I think it's perhaps ambitious. Yeah.
Perhaps today her approach is also simply based, like, just, I don't know. I don't have a different term to say. Just YOLO. just forward everything quickly, and that's it.
Didn't expect that
Yeah.
this early in the morning. Yeah, YOLO. We do have 2 games in the master database that I looked at just by clicking on the little button over there. And both games that are in the database in this position, though I'm sure we could get some transposed games a little further on, but both of them are draws.
That
Yeah.
doesn't sound too good. Yeah.
It doesn't sound too promising with the main moves being played with
I
C takes. Sorry, go ahead. Yes.
I think the the position is very fighting here. Probably it's just a coincidence that both games ended in a draw. I think it looks very double-edged. Like d5 is also quite ambitious. The idea is probably still to have control over this d4 square if black takes. White takes, for example, you still get to have control over this d4 square, and you can castle easily and might just get a very comfortable position with like b5, bishop e7, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So probably that's not the way to go for white here, but I don't know how to play here for white. Like you can probably take a pawn, but yeah, very unclear if you really want this. Like black can maybe collect the pawn on d4 at some point and might get pleasant play against the isolated pawn.
And what about e5 here as a move?
Yeah, it's probably also one of the critical moves.
Do we defend the d4 pawn now with black, or do we just take on c3?
Probably we have to take at some point because queen g4 might also be an idea. To have some double attack on g7 and d4, and probably at any way you need to take at some point.
But if we take, isn't this almost like some very good version of French where we're gonna get very strong attack for free?
Does look like it, to me at least.
The rook is ready to get lifted up and everything is just there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So maybe there's some kind of very strong move after e5. To me this also looks just pleasant for white, honestly. Okay, black might break with f6 early on. Maybe to play like that, but anyway, it rather looks better for white, I think.
And very risk-free for white, especially.
Yeah. Okay, one very weird idea probably is completely wrong, like to sacrifice this pawn on d3. It's probably completely wrong.
Oh,
I just want to hinder your development of the bishop. But yeah, probably. I don't know, queen c7, you just defend it, right? Or queen h5 even.
Or f4 even.
Yeah.
F4.
Yeah, f4 at least do get some play with bishop c5 and so on.
Do you?
Yeah.
I was just wondering what's next coming, really.
I don't know. You go with b4 and so on.
Well, ideally I want to go bishop f1, d4.
Okay, I can stop you with d4 myself, but I suspect this is just very nice for black.
Yeah, but now I don't mind c4 at all.
Yeah.
Or yeah, bishop e4.
Yeah.
And then d3, c. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably it's too much, but an interesting question how she will react after e5.
I think every big tournament like this should have a confession booth. So at any point during the match, before games, after games, during the games, you can go in, make a small confession about the tournament, the match, or your opponent, or the game, whatever it is, and then just like play it afterwards so that we can know exactly what they were thinking at certain moments. Because I feel like press conferences don't fully capture that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
think,
yeah.
I don't think you can always count that players are gonna be willing to share during the game.
Yeah. I think it probably just doesn't hurt to have them, but I suspect in a World Championship match it wouldn't be used too often, but even if they use it like once every 3 games or something, it would still be interesting. At least sometimes I also have the feeling that, like in this tournament in Paris, that players go in there and also clear up their own mind, to reflect a bit on the position and so on. So I have the feeling sometimes it actually also helps the players to
Yeah,
just talk a bit about it.
it could be
But
like the
maybe-
psychological relief, you know?
Maybe we could propose like a system where players get bonuses in case they do go and confess something during the round.
I like that.
So let's
Yeah.
say 5 minutes extra time for the next game.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
if we have any, photo booth investors in chats, or maybe we can just have, Lichess set up their own confession booth or photo booth or whatever it is. And then, we can play, instead of the live feed, we can just play confessions during the break.
Yeah, I mean,
Lichess
for sure, it's
confessions.
always a fan favorite to see these confessions of the players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the game. Right.
Yeah, probably e5 is a critical move. I don't know what else. I probably knight d4 is possible. She might play that if she wants to play it safe.
E5
Question is
actually,
what happens after e5.
maybe you just ignore it, like somebody in the chat was pointing out the idea. It does make sense. And if we do take on d4, I don't know with what do we take there, but knight. I guess we want to exchange knights or no?
Probably both are fine. Let's try to take with the knight.
So the point of it being that later when we attack those pawns, one of the black's pieces is gonna land on d4 eventually, and it's gonna be a very, very comfortable square for it.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to try to protect the pawn, otherwise black might just get a very comfortable game. And now f6 or f5 maybe. Or even, probably you can even just sacrifice the pawn and play for some play like here. But probably f5 or f6 is even more critical.
I would actually like to remove the pawn from d2.
Yeah, with
Just
white.
take it off the
You
board?
can play bishop h6 immediately.
Yeah, bishop h6 and have like an attack, because now if I want to attack with the dark squared bishop, I have to block the light squared bishop, and that's not cool.
How would you get rid of this pawn?
You don't. That's not legal.
It's not
Okay, you can
legal.
play
Oh,
d3.
okay.
I don't know, maybe f5, yeah. You can still hang on to the pawn, so queen f4.
But that lead development, even g5, is so tempting.
Does somehow look wrong, even if you play bishop d7. d3, and then you can maybe play f4 and take on d4.
Is this all
It
a
doesn't happen
ploy to get rid of one of the d pawns? He does have an option.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it doesn't happen often, but this is it's just too many pawns for white.
Yeah, so probably it's an important decision now for Ju. How to approach the position, which kind of play she wants to get. Yeah, she did take on d4. It's probably the more solid approach.
And does she go d3 or does she take rook takes e4? What do you think?
I do intuitively actually like d3, yeah. Just to make the game very easy to understand. Like if you take on d4, then we might get an endgame after d takes e4. But yeah, you can maybe.
If you when you need a draw, then d3 looks very nice.
Yeah.
Just to open up the file, and and if you take here, then first of all, d4 pawn is protected because of bishop e5. Second of all, if we still will want a draw, we can always prepare bishop e4, d5.
Well spotted. It's on the board. What do you think is going through Tan's mind here? That she has an hour and 31 minutes. Is she like, I just want this match to be over. I have sort of admitted defeat in a way and happy for a quick draw, because she's either like really well in theory here, or is just happy playing very simple moves and nothing too risky.
I think she's very likely still to be in her preparation, but it doesn't mean that she will get a very exciting game anyway, because she's still playing black, and even if you prepare something quite sharp like she did today, if the opponent reacts well with white, it's still possible to steer the game towards drawish lines. We like Drew plays. There's one way with these three. But yeah, I think very likely still preparation from back.
Yeah, and I think that today she really has nothing to lose. I mean, in a way, it doesn't matter if you are -4 or -5 in a match when you lose the match. It's still with a huge margin, and you can just try something. And I think she just was looking to play in her own way by playing quickly, which is her way of playing, and just seeing if something comes out of it or doesn't. But yeah, this line by Drew and June, I think it's very clever attempt just to kill the game.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest hardship usually when you're playing with the black pieces and you really want the game and you know that you're playing with an opponent who understands openings is well prepared, and you know that the opponent is not really in a fighting mood, just well, it's fine with the draw. And then to come up with something where you actually get a game, it's not easy. We have seen that kind of examples very often also in the World Cup, where one player needs to win with black pieces, but is just anyways the game finishes in 15 moves or something like this because just unable to find anything.
But have you been in these situations with white also? Because I've been in this situation from both sides, and also from the side which is playing for a draw. It might lead to just both sides a bit losing their objectivity and just always searching for the draws. The other side is trying to avoid the draw, and it might lead to some strange play and strange decisions also. Yeah.
This is a great question in chat. We saw that in the open FIDE circuit, that now the World Championship challenger doesn't get automatic qualification into the next candidates. So what happens in the female FIDE circuit? Do they get points? Do they get automatic entry into the candidates, or what happens? Did you manage to read that in the regulations, or is this completely unknown by us?
I do not know it. Maybe somebody from the chat can.
No, I don't know
that.
either.
Yeah.
I'm
But yeah,
becoming a
that's
researcher.
of course a big change. Usually you even used to get a return match, and now you don't get to play the candidates automatically. Probably the first time in history for that thing doesn't even get into the candidates.
Okay, found it. So the next FIDE Women's Candidates Tournament is happening in April 2026. And we're checking, so there's Grand Prix, Women's World Cup. So 3 spots from World Cup, 2 spots from Grand Prix, 2 spots from Grand Swiss, and FIDE Women's Event Series first. So actually not a single spot for the runner-up of the World Championship match. Wow.
Yeah, so they have a very similar system now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I like it. I mean, the problem is when you played the World Championship match, at least Ding, he didn't have any chances in the FIDE circuit last year, because it didn't make really any sense to compete for him there because he was already playing in the match.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's probably the only disadvantage. He can still play in the World Cup and the Grand Swiss. And yeah, of course, it's just a big question what kind of privileges you want to give the former world champion. Of course, there are also many arguments for not giving them as many advantages.
That's very true. And no spots for rating, I don't think that'll be quite fair. There are lots of ways to just I feel like there are lots of ways to manipulate the whole rating system. including internal matches, sitting on your rating, not playing much. So qualifying by being active seems like a fair way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the open section they do have a rating spot. I also
Oh,
see
they
the
do.
advantage of that.
I take it back.
Because
I don't want to get
no,
shot.
But
you mean in the women's they didn't have, right?
It doesn't have a rating spot for women, no.
Yeah, because sometimes like this World Cup and Grand Swiss, they can be a bit random, and you also do want the best players to play in the candidates. So rating spot is also very fair, of course, but then you need to worry about players not being inactive and so on.
yeah, I think actually one big problem with the rating system right now is the fact that in chess you can be not playing for so long time and you can still be considered just top rated player and so on, in a way that like if you look, of course it's completely different, the rating system, but like if you just look at the tennis and something that by not playing they lose rating,
Oh,
like they are
really?
Yeah.
skipping step
I
because
didn't
they
even
have
know
to
that.
defend their rating points every year. Like they play, they
Okay.
win the rating points, and then they have this rating, but not to uh, like lose it. They have to participate and perform at least as well as before, or otherwise they lose this rating. But in chess, you can just not play for a year, and you can still be sitting on your high pedestal, and that's it. And just yeah, I think that would be very big step forward if they would implement that you get inactive if you just don't play for half a year or something like this, or you
Exactly.
don't have certain amount of games in like certain times period. Like you don't have to go crazy. Even in like now the cutoff I think is 2 years you cannot play, and only then
Yeah.
you become inactive.
And that's what I
Like
would have
if you have
suggested as well, yeah.
if you put like 10 games a year as a minimum to be active player, I mean it's such a tiny requirement, yet it would drastically change the situation where yeah players are just sitting on their
But but
2700 and that's it.
but how does it hurt you so much to be inactive actually? Um, like you need to be active anyway. I think I don't probably they didn't use this in the regulations for the candidates that you need to be active to qualify for the candidates. I think they introduced that, but how does it actually hurt you if you are inactive?
I
If you
feel
start playing again, you will just be listed again, and you will have the same rating as before. Like for example, I think Kasparov could start playing again, and he would be world number 2 and still
Well,
have the same
that's a
rating
good
as
point,
before. Yeah.
but
but
I
it's
think
at least
inactivity
you're
can
not appearing
also,
in the lists, you
yeah.
know, like when
Yeah,
it's
that's true. Yeah.
you're not there, you're not like number certain number ranked in the world, you're just
Mm-hmm.
but that yeah, I mean taking rating would be
Would also
more
be harsh. Yeah,
interesting.
but
Yeah, it
yeah,
would
it
be
would
harsh,
be
but it would be more
an
interesting.
interesting idea. Yeah.
And I feel like inactivity can also influence your strength, right? So if you're inactive for a year or two, suddenly your rating isn't a true reflection of your strength anymore. So as long
Mm-hmm.
as you maintain an active player, it will your consistency will prove that you deserve to be the rating you are. And this has also happened quite locally. I mean, at a much lower level, but we'd find that players within this 2 year cycle needing to play something like 50 games will cram those 50 games right at the end of the cycle trying to qualify because they were just trying to like keep their rating at a certain mark, and it would often prove ineffective because they haven't played for so long that by the time they do play they've lost so much rating and
Mm-hmm.
strength and so on because they're so busy with other things.
Yeah, like even just returning to the same also like if you have 10 games a year that you have to play, and for every game that you have under 10 games that you have played in a year, you lose 5 rating points. So if you didn't play the whole year, then you could be minus 50. If you played, yeah, just like few games, you could be just minus 20 and stuff like that. And that would make it the things very interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like 5 points or so you could really consider to do. Probably it shouldn't be too harsh, but yeah, 5 points would like motivate the people to play like 10, 20 games. But yeah, I do see the argument for losing some rating if you just sit on it.
That's why regulations and selection policies are so important, and they often don't get taken seriously enough, at least. So we
let's
saw
get
the
back
D3.
to the game, or
Yeah, no, of course.
yeah.
So we did see the D3 eventually, which was your solid approach. I was more like, pro just taking the pawn on E4 and, trying to sit there with double pawns. Because if you lose one, hey, there's another one, so like layered pawns. But yeah, D3 was played, and now you mentioned this is more of a solid approach. But also IQP. Oof, I get scared.
Yeah, I think that's why the plan of white is probably to play d5 at some point. If you get long term, like just isolated queen's pawn position, and black gets to develop somehow. I don't know how. Maybe somehow get to play bishop d7, bishop c6, and get the rook to the d line. Then black might just long term have a pleasant position. But I think Drew's plan is here just to play d5 at some point and just try to liquidate the game basically to a draw, which would win her the world championship title.
Yeah, I think stopping d5, e5 move, and then so for example playing bishop f4 and then going something like d5 and exchanging.
Yeah,
Seems
I don't know if you
very-
need to stop d5. Maybe you do want to. But anyway, right now for black the question is how to even develop. Like he would really like to play bishop d7 here, but pawn is hanging on b7.
Maybe queen b6 is a move.
Yes, I was wondering queen b6, and now after d5 I was wondering a bit if you can play rook d8, and if that's a bit uncomfortable for white to be in the pin here.
Well, you could try to play something like queen c2, sidestep the d file, but also attack h7, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, that would just solve all the problems you need to play.
Because at first I was looking at queen h5, but g6 is annoying.
Yeah, and you can play bishop e3 next move because b2 is protected with tempo.
True.
So probably that would not really.
Okay, we can go f5 of course and see what happens.
No! Oh, all the dreams are.
Okay,
Oh, you can
bishop
take it!
f3
Take it,
here,
take it! Oh.
Because you cannot take on
Aw.
d5 because the bishop is hanging. Maybe, yeah.
You can't take on f5?
On d5 you can't.
Oh.
Take.
I was gonna take on f5. Just bishop takes f5.
Ah, you
Oh.
can take on
Yeah.
f5. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I guess
if he
it-
goes f5, just take it.
Seeing
I
all the
guess it works out.
tactics.
And now yeah, I guess we cannot sacrifice anything interesting. I was thinking like bishop c5, give up on h7, take rook d5 and checkmate somehow, but
Yeah, it's too much.
This is insane.
The feeling you can just take the pawn, I think. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but yeah, that's not great.
No, this is not going to happen. So probably this queen b6, it looks tempting somehow, but probably it's just no big deal for white with queen c2. And yeah, the queen on b6 is also double-edged. You can always get into this tempo move later.
Okay, but now at least we get e5.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yes. And f5 next move, yeah.
if we want to play a game, then that's big.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way maybe here, sorry, to play something like bishop e3 and
Yeah,
just immediately going for like this? Because maybe
Ah.
you're trying to give up this pawn.
Yeah, I am not gonna touch this pawn. Yeah, that's scary. The d6
Are
pawn.
you sure you really
Yeah.
like taking pawns? It's free? Okay.
I'm just gonna go queen d6 here,
Alright.
I think.
But I do like the position for white now. I
Yeah.
think bishop e3 is very strong.
Yeah, it
Bishop
is. strong.
c5 is coming. Generally, it can be very risky to play e5 because the d pawn can become very strong. But of course, if you get to blockade it and go with f5 and so on, also big
I think-
upside.
Risky is not something we're trying to avoid today from black.
That's true. Yeah. I don't like it too much, to be honest. But I also don't know how exactly to play. Like, you can of course take the bishop on e7, but f5 is still coming.
Yeah, this looks
I
more
don't know. You
difficult.
can just play queen b3 or something probably. f5, I do have d6, and I'm completely developed already. I have the feeling it could become just worse for black, but maybe you can play it queen d6. At least you have the perspective to somehow win the pawn on d5 at some point, maybe with f5, e4. It's at least a way to get an advantage if everything goes perfectly for you. But I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe there's a different move after bishop e4. Like queen b6, it does run into bishop e3. Sometimes like bishop f6 here also looks very normal, but then you get to play bishop e3 easily.
That's what she played. She played bishop f6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is seeming after bishop e3, really. What do we do next?
Yeah. Another move would also be d5. But the thing is, after d5, okay, the position is completely symmetrical. Like my argument was that you can't develop your bishop from c1 so easily because b2 is hanging, but black exactly has the same problem.
Okay, maybe you can go
bishop on c8. Ah, yeah.
Something like bishop g4.
Yeah, actually, we can take an f7 maybe, and take the bishop.
Can we get any
it's
counter
still
game
playable, but this will probably peter out to a draw or something with the bishop d4. Can just give the pawn back next move.
But if we take the b2 pawn, at least we can pretend that we will get a passed pawn on the queen side and win thanks to that.
Yeah, queen a5 is a bit annoying.
This is so far beyond me.
Yeah. Ah, but we can play bishop e3 because bishop b2, rook b1, queen a2 doesn't work because of queen e2.
Okay, but we can retreat, right?
You can retreat. Yeah.
Okay, this is I would be still like not super sad from that position to get this. I mean, we get b5 and we hope.
Yeah, I think it's very drawish, but at least you have some asymmetrical structure. Maybe you have some hope in some endgame to promote your pawn on the queen side. But okay, probably it's anyway more likely that she will go bishop e3.
Wait, that's
d5
where was it? Yeah.
Like bishop f6. She already played bishop e3, right?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. At least now in the next move, d5, the pawn will be hanging on b2. But you really want to play bishop d7, but how to do it? Maybe queen a5 here or something to prepare rook d8.
Maybe we sacrifice somehow the pawns to get some activity.
How?
Just develop bishop and take on. Yeah, but that's gonna be so
but I will take the pawn on a6 also, like here.
Oh,
that's not
two
good.
Pawns.
Yeah.
But rook on the second.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag hope.
Yeah, but it's even this and like.
Even if you lose your pawn on d4, you will still be extremely drawish. Yeah, somehow I have the feeling the opening didn't go too well actually for Tan, but it's just a very difficult situation. Like I think she didn't really do anything wrong in the opening. Like solid choice to play for a win, but it's just if White wants to play solid, it's just so difficult to.
I think that it's actually
too much.
When you try to take some action in the center with black immediately, that's when you can run into these lines. If white is accurate, where you can simplify everything. And that's why I'm not entirely sure that I like her choice of knight d4 as an opening, and I think that knight g6, even though objectively in this position it's not the best, it's would promise a much more complicated fight with all the pieces, all the pawns on the board, unusual piece placement, unusual structure, and we just play on.
Yeah, that's probably also one reason why people play even more dubiously if they really want to win, like first move g6 and so on. Because always with all these confrontations in the center, often options for white to just exchange a lot of pieces immediately. But yeah, this position is really queen b3 is coming and d5. It should be very hard to generate too many winning chances here for black.
I do have a very important question here in this position. So Rasmus, you have a Twitch channel and some emotes too, and I believe one of them is a jam emote. Can you reenact that for us on stream? I think it comes with some peace signs. Yeah, so you could add those in there as well, you know, if you want. That was brilliant. We need to clip and ship that. That was great. Top
if you
quality.
ask me to, I will not back down.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get yeeted from the call. Obviously, that is why he feels pressured to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Even doubling wouldn't help at this point. Does
The idea
Anna
was
doubling on the D file?
No, doubling was the idea that to how introduce the rule that you can offer the opponent to double the stakes, how much the game is worth, and if the opponent refuses, then the opponent has resigns effectively. In this sense, doubling.
Right, not double the rooks, but double the stakes. Got you. That makes more sense.
That would be
like
interesting
stake.
match format as well, just to make it more fun.
Oh, doubling the points for Tan, I believe that would be amazing. Well, they should just propose for the final matches of a world championship. They should play Fisher random instead, because that way things are even more unpredictable and more difficult to secure. Oh, you're not thinking about the position yet. That's okay, neither am I, and I'm still waking up. Which is
I'm thinking about the position. I was thinking maybe queen a5.
All right.
Maybe that's a move to try to get rook d8. I mean, I can't protect the pawn on b7. Maybe bishop d7 might be an option now because a6 is protected in these lines after rook b8. At least it's a move. I don't see many other moves. Maybe queen d6 also.
Not many other moves that would qualify as moves, in your book.
Yeah. And probably these tricks don't work, but at least there's some kind of possible trick. Probably this just loses
attacking
somehow.
on e1.
If you take both, there's a way to win the game with back rank mates.
Maybe.
That
Helpmate.
would need some cooperation from white. Yeah.
Where there is a way, there's a hope, right?
Yes. But probably there's some win here for white, even though I don't see it exactly.
Where there's a will, there's a relative. Okay.
Well, at least we can take on h. Oh no, we can take on h7 and then queen d3. I guess it's doesn't exactly work, or maybe I don't know. Let's try. Not my pieces.
Yeah,
So
probably it doesn't work.
and e5, I was thinking just bishop c3.
You can probably
lovely.
take it, right? On e5.
Oh, I can. Also, that is possible.
Yeah.
But this one looks fancier.
Yeah, but rook e5 wins a pawn. I like pawns.
Okay, sure.
It doesn't exactly win the pawn because you drop on a2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Counter.
But then rook g5.
Okay, I'm not saying it's good, but
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, but she played a move g6 here.
Also makes sense, just not to give white some tempo moves like queen d3 to develop, because h7 is not an issue anymore now. So what do we do with white? Queen b3 is somehow tempting. Yeah, could just fizzle out to a draw very easily.
So
Bishop
while
d4, yeah.
we're speaking about the position, Jesse is complaining to the chat about commentating together with two grandmasters.
I'm not complaining at all. Just including the chat and the conversation, of course. No. I am trying my best to distract you and you keeping, on track. So this is a good thing. I'm obviously, you're doing your job right. So there you go. Being
No, I can
called
imagine.
out.
I can imagine the pain of having to work with two grandmasters together. Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. It's definitely enlightening and learning a lot here. So thank you for having me. Yeah. No, I was just remembering actually while you were discussing this idea of playing. Well, G6 is on the board actually, but I was also doing some commentary on the rest days because rest days are for the week apparently. And the Reykjavik Open was happening at the same time. So I was doing some commentary, especially on Chess Dojo, and the community there, they really dislike it, having an evaluation bar and like the lines on. So what I had to do, I had to take the training wheels off, try to analyze the game from my standpoint. Yes, we missed a lot of maiden ones, a lot of maiden twos, which I checked the chat later on and they're like, but just take the pawn. And I was like, when you see a checkmate, wait and look for a better move. But yeah, it's really, really tough, I realized, commentating or at least analyzing a game without the engine, if that's what you're familiar with for so long. So yeah, now that I'm trying to do that, I'm definitely attempting to think on your level and using humor to cover up my inability to do so. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yes, thank you for holding it. Yeah, I don't know. I like both forms of commentary. Like, without an engine, of course, has the big plus that you get to see how humans are thinking about the position, and if the players make a mistake and you saw the commentators made exactly the same mistake, you can more understand how they get to a wrong decision. Whereas when you just see the game with an engine, you sometimes wonder, okay, how can these players be so weak? But it's just often they make very human mistakes that many other people would also do.
Exactly. That's well explained.
I agree, but like very, very good points. And my preference is definitely without an engine, when both to watch and both to commentate, when the engine is not in use. Since it just always feels like somebody wants to check it with an engine, they can do it at any point. Anyways. Yeah. But was Queen B3 played? No, that was just an idea,
it was
right?
just my move.
I just
it was also
then...
a move just to liquidate. Probably black can take on d4.
Yeah, like if you want to play Queen B3, then why not to play Queen F3? What could be the advantage? Since after Queen F3 we attack the bishop, and we actually want to take on B7 immediately.
Oh, nice, and there's no pin on the queen after rook B8. I do like that. And also some plans maybe of, I know this is a bit eccentric, but H4, H5 later on. Harry the H pawn.
But how do you want to get H4? Like, it will always be hanging, right?
So not at the moment.
Okay, you can play G3 first, but...
But in some lines.
Yeah. That's the problem of G6 sometimes. If you get your pawn to H6, it can always be very annoying.
Okay.
But yeah, I have the feeling it might actually peter out completely, like in lines like bishop d4 and... Okay, probably white can play for more even, but it's possible just to exchange everything maybe in many lines. Just go for some 3 versus 3 rook endings.
That looks scary and likely.
Yeah, scary for Tan because she would just lose a match immediately. Yeah.
Oof. Right to the crux of things.
Yes.
They're very, very true.
Yeah, but what else to do here, like after Queen F3? What other moves? I mean, B7 is hanging right now.
Queen E7?
Exactly. I was gonna say, hear me out. Queen e7 defends it, and
Yes.
you have some plans of rook d8.
But
Boom.
the problem is that we still don't have a plan how to get the bishop out from c8.
Yeah. Yeah, that's somehow the problem with these must-win situations. Like you try to avoid all the draws, which would be the best moves, and like moves like Queen e7, they really look dubious. But you have to take one or two or three of these decisions, and White continues playing normally, and at some point you will just be in big trouble. Like I don't know, you're going into the e file, so d5 will be more dangerous. Maybe some rook c1 and d5, bishop c5 ideas might come. Yeah.
That's a very good question. In a situation like this, if you were to put yourself in Tan's shoes, playing with the black pieces against e4 on the first move, what opening would you play? What sort of lines would you go into or feel comfortable going into?
Probably something like this. Probably she just didn't choose the right sub variation. But this knight c6, e6 Sicilian I do like as a choice to play for win. Otherwise, okay, you can play the modern or Philidor or something.
Yeah, I also like this opening choice, and I just didn't like the decision to go for so main lines that do take action in the center, like I already stated before. Like I think the choice was nice. I just think she had to choose some approach which doesn't force things, and I was surprised for that reason to see Rook e1 from Ju and Jun, because it is a move that doesn't force things in the center as opposed to d4, which actually can lead to rather a lot of simplifications or some forced lines immediately. And there's also this one drawn line, which she could have prepared exactly for today, expecting this line from Tan. The one which I think I kind of started to show the other day with d4 takes, knight d4, queen b6, and then bishop e3, sacrificing a piece at least for a moment from the white side, but then getting a completely drawn position at the end of the line.
Yeah, maybe it was also a wrong decision just to repeat the line. It would have been probably a very good choice if it was the first time she played it, but now that she repeated it and Chu was able to prepare for it, maybe it was a better choice to just play some very dubious surprise opening. But yeah, of course, it's a very difficult spot to have to win with black, and not only have to win with black, but also win the next few games.
I mean, you have to just one at a time, right?
Yes,
if she can win one game with black, then she can.
Yeah, if she
try...
wins the first, yeah.
Then she can try to win. But also about today's game, I don't think it's so much in her hands, especially at this point already. It is about what is the mindset for Drew and June. If she is gonna be cold-blooded and just to manage to just play and write out perfectly, or she's gonna be a little bit in her own head, a little bit nervous because of knowing the situation that draw is a win, and you're playing with white pieces, so you feel like, okay, draw should be easy to achieve, and then you'll start to make some, exactly like you already mentioned, Rasmus, some decisions in some moments, just looking for a draw, and suddenly it's not the best moves anymore.
At least it's not a must-win situation for Ju. She's like a cat with 9 lives. I mean, 4 opportunities, 4 games to play, and play for a win, play for a draw. So I think it is a little bit easier, but as you mentioned, still needs to seal the deal and could be in her own head. So it'll be fun to see which way it goes, because she is spending quite a bit of time, and we're seeing this like regular 20-minute gap between the two players at the moment.
Yeah, I think what we actually also might be seeing potentially in this game is that Ju will just start playing for a win. I mean, she can afford to lose one game. She will still have 3 more tries to make a draw, and even if she does lose all game, she will still have a tiebreak. So it might also be possible that she just approaches this game like a normal game, and maybe still wants to take some rating points if it will be possible. Like I think there has been precedence for this. I think in the last game between Carlsen and Anand. At least I remember that Carlsen did play on, even though draw would have won him the match. I don't remember if he did win the game or not, but I do remember that he did play on. But of course, it's also Carlsen. He likes to do this stuff. Like most normal people would just have taken a draw here and not care about the 5 rating points. They will just come or go.
Yeah, but if you know that you
Yeah.
cannot lose, if you trust in your ability, like you're in good shape, you know, you're in the zone, you just know what you're doing, you know that this is the kind of position you're gonna never lose against Stockfish as well. So then you just play on.
Yeah.
Is it true that, and I saw this in chat earlier, with K factor 10, the maximum number of points you can lose in a game is 5?
No, it's
No,
9.
no.
9.
9 comma something.
And
9.2 right now, I think.
And if you beat someone within like the same rating range as you, how many points would you gain?
If you beat someone with the exact same rating, you would get 5.
5 points.
Isn't
Like
it-
you scored half a point more than expected.
Isn't it like 4.6 or something like this? Then if it's 9.2, then it wasn't it like half of that?
No, like if you play somebody with exactly the same rating, then your expected score is half a point, right? And you get 1 point, so you score half a point more than expected, and that's how you calculate the rating. So you get 5 rating points. Like every 0.1. No, wait. Every 0.1 point more than expected that you score in a game is 1 rating point. I think that's how the system works, at least that from what I've learned.
Oh, the
during my
rating
chess
cap is
career.
400 points. Okay. I'm starting to
Yeah.
get to know it a little bit better because I think I have K factor 20, but once you cross a certain rating, right?
Yeah, 2400, I think.
2400, then you get K factor 10.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There used to be also K factor 15. Did they completely abandon that?
Was there
Yeah.
K factor 15? Was
There
that
used to
for
be, I
over
think, right?
2300 or?
No, instead of K20, it was K15 simply.
Yeah, they didn't used to have this K40, and with this K40 they went from 10 to 10, 20, and 40, I guess.
Mhm.
But they used to have 15. 15 and 20 maybe.
They should bring
I'm not
back
sure.
30.
Yeah.
Well, there was never a
So-
30, but they should introduce it. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. Okay, she did play Queen B3. Probably it doesn't matter too much, maybe.
But
Not Queen
and
F3.
now we at least don't want to take on B7. So it's not actually attacked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe
So-
Queen F3 was the easier approach if you really wanted to just force a draw. It was quite forcing.
I always like to compare the pluses and minuses on certain moves, and what is the plus of queen being on b3? Let's say we play something like queen d6, a simple move. What did we win by queen being on b3?
I think what my reason was, why I suggested Queen B3, was in the line after Bishop D4, Rook D1, E5. That now we could play as a move like Queen B4. Like if the queen was on F3 here, it would be a bit more uncomfortable to recover the pawn. Like you had to play Queen D3 and exchange the rooks and add the queens, and then like doesn't have any issues anymore. Here you can maybe play a move like Queen B4 and go Rook D4. That was at least my reasoning. It was just intuitively, but when you suggested Queen F3, it was just probably a more straightforward move.
I was thinking when the queen was on F3 in that line that we looked at, that Bishop D5 was always possible, and you could cover and play something like this, but maybe there was Queen A5 attacking the rook or something.
No, Bishop D5 is a good point. Okay, probably Black could have played like in this line with the queen on F3. Maybe Black could have played like Queen
Wait,
B6.
hear me out. So what if Queen A5, Rook E8? Does that work?
Yes. That's well
It's nice.
spotted.
It looks
Yeah.
schmancy.
But you do have Bishop F5. maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Then we
No,
we
but it's a
trade.
nice.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no, this is nice. Now we just gotta continue.
And
Here,
then you
here,
take
no bishop
here, and
f7.
then yes.
Ah, wow.
I like this.
It's very tricky. Yeah, very
Tic
good.
tacs. Let's go. Okay.
Yeah, so another point why the queen on f3 might have been strong. Even after queen b6, it's the same move. I mean. Okay, probably you can play like bishop e6.
Buzzkill. Then we
Yeah,
can
but
trade. Yeah.
options. White has options, and always nice options.
Agree.
But I don't know. It might be signaling that she's already playing for a win. I don't know with queen b3. Because like here you could really just take on b7 and you just everything gets exchanged, right? Or can black maybe play queen f6? But it feels like you just get to exchange the queen and all the pawns somehow. Yeah, it has to be completely drawn.
You can just keep pushing the pawn somewhere and.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not b4. No, even that is possible, right?
I mean, this d pawn is also not really so scary. Just
Exactly,
feels like
yeah.
everything will get exchanged here.
So maybe we see Jun going for her 5 rating points.
Yeah, I mean, it's very logical approach. Just try to play a game, not think about the result too much. And if she thinks queen b3 is the best move, why not?
And maybe
Why
she
not
also
play
thinks
it?
about it. If she overtakes the game, those could be like easy rating points, because it might be tough for Tan to be really in the correct mindset to defend like slightly worse position for a long time. In a
Yeah.
must-win situation, just to be defending, it's like must be not pleasant.
Yeah. I don't think Ju has the same mindset, but I know that like Carlsen or somebody is, if he's winning the tournament and like an opponent of him is already mentally crushed and willing to resign the match or something, he still wants to pounce and punish the opponent and make a psychological impression for the future. I don't think Ju is the same.
I do the same thing. I mean, I
Yeah.
have won multiple tournaments for that reason. 1.5 point ahead, 2 points ahead. Just
Oh my gosh.
just winning also the last round.
That's
It's
ruthless.
a very nice feeling.
But I think like Ju and Tan, they are good friends since childhood, so I don't think like Ju really wants to crush her opponent or something like that.
I suppose over the board you don't have any friends. And speaking of this sort of like 5 wins in a row, my friend group, we have implemented this nice way to talk about a losing streak. And so if you lose 2 games in a row, it's called short castling. So it asks, oh, did you short castle? Or 3 losses in a row, which is long castling.
That's very common, I know.
Four losses in a row being an Audi.
This I also know, yeah.
And
then
5, yeah, 5 losses in a row being the Olympic rings.
Yes.
So I don't think 6 losses deserves to be called anything other than it's okay, you'll get them next time. Yeah.
I don't know what's my maximum amount of losses in a row. For sure I've had 3. But I don't know if 4. Like I used to start some round robin tournaments with 3 losses in a row. That's quite painful already. 4 losses in a row is really quite a long time ago. I can't imagine.
Try 10.
It hurts. Okay, probably I just need to play some kind of super tournament, and then I will know the feeling.
It will happen. I mean, not the losses, the super tournament.
Yeah. Or both, yeah.
Or both. Let's hope not.
Yeah, maybe none. Maybe one I would take. Either one, like super tournament or... Okay, I wouldn't take just the losses that without the super tournament, but both.
Oh, wow, she took on d4.
Oh.
Sorry, I was actually very much wondering, can I somehow keep the game going with bishop g7 and somewhere get f5, f4, win the d4 pawn? But she is taking the calm approach, bishop d4.
Yeah, it's basically probably a silent draw for it feels like.
Yeah, it's just like
Okay, I mean these positions, it's not like completely drawn. Like if you play some, I don't know, bishop e6. Okay, in this position always b pawn is also hanging, but sometimes like if you get some moves here, you might get some concrete ideas, like maybe rook to the second rank. Sometimes positions like this can be a bit tricky.
But here,
Yeah.
big thing also going on is if you look at the placement of the pawns, all the black pawns are in the light squares, with this bishop
Mhm.
just going crazy there.
Yeah. No, probably you can also just take with the queen actually, or take on d4, take on b7,
Just play a3.
or even a3. No,
Prophylaxis.
probably it's, if anybody, probably white is slightly more comfortable here actually.
Right, with the same color bishops. Wow.
Yeah, this is very likely to happen, I think. d1 will probably be played quite fast, I would suspect. And e5 is basically forced due to the pin.
Forcing moves.
No way,
Mhm.
no way to sacrifice somehow the queen. That would be nice still.
Yeah,
Oh dear.
Just to remove those two and then remove the queen. That would be interesting game.
yes. And then put your bishop on d4, then you might just play actually without risk.
What is
Possibly like this
happening?
f2 pawn would be weak.
Okay.
But yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah,
So
she
maybe
will
queen f6. After, wait, takes.
Yeah, this will happen, right? And I don't know where you put the queen actually. Probably b4 is just very.
Right, this is what
natural.
you suggested.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you
Or
can
you
also
just
put
go-
it on b4, a4, or d5. Very cynical, yeah. But
Cynical.
now bishop, yeah, now bishop e6. I don't know.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, okay. That's not the way you want to do it. It's all gonna lead to the same, but not the way you want to do it.
No real reason not to go to b4, right? Just feels like the optimal square. You still have an eye on b7. And you control all the dark squares, so the queen doesn't have access to b6 or a4, a5 or anything. And then, yeah. Also possible that we might see a short game, actually. But they are not allowed to offer any draws, right? They have to
Not
play
before
to
move.
move 40.
Yeah, move 40. But it's easy to play out when you have 3
Yes,
against
yes.
3 position. You can
Yeah.
just blitz it out and.
Yeah. They did have one rook endgame in the first game where they did go to move 40. Yeah, of course, if you have some 3 against 3, like grandmasters know to just move the rook around and make repetition or reach move 40 or whatever.
But even with repetition, you should be allowed to just claim a draw, right?
Yes.
Regardless of how many moves.
Yeah.
It's funny, like some of those situations. I know in Olympiad there was, I think it, like a women's team, Latvian national team was playing, and there was a situation they were wanting to, players were making a draw, and I don't remember how many moves was there, 20, 30 moves, what was the rule, but just the idea that they were not quite there, and they repeated position 3 times. But they were lazy to call the arbiter and to go through the whole process of claiming a draw. So they just repeated the position like 7 times and then they made the draw.
Yeah,
When it
I've
was
seen these before also.
Just to
Sometimes
make
they
sure.
repeat until move 40 like 10 times or something.
Oh my gosh.
Then it's of course very weird if somebody declines the draw. Actually, I had one game in my life where I had a repetition for I think 7 times or something, and the arbiter didn't step in. I think it's allowed to step in after 5 times. But the
yeah.
reason was I was playing for the German championship, and my opponent. I didn't know that actually at the time but he was playing for an IM norm, so we both needed to win. But the position was just an equal endgame, and we had to draw. So we repeated for 7 times or something. Both were hoping for the opponent just to deviate and play some worse moves so we get some winning chances. But in the end, we decided to offer a draw like after 7 times or something. That was a
Ending
bit weird.
peacefully.
Yeah. Okay, she did play rook d1. I was a bit surprised where she thought for so long. She might have considered to take on d4 and play rook d1 and play for compensation or something. But that's not
because
really a big reason to do this.
Because this guy on c8 is not
Yeah.
happy.
But you
Look
don't
at
have any real targets immediately. Like you can play queen of6 or e5 at some point. No reason to give black this pawn. Yeah, I thought like king just 7 e5.
Yeah,
Rook
but yeah,
d6.
this is
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's what she considered, but no real reason to do this, especially in the match situation. But probably it's also good compensation, not worse for white.
Is
I
it
would
better for
guess.
white in this position? It actually feels just
Maybe,
so
yeah.
paralyzing.
Maybe.
I'd love to just switch on the engine real quick. So if you don't want to see the evaluation, just close your eyes real quick. Okay, you can open your eyes again.
and where are we?
It was
What did you
just
see?
0.2
For white,
advantage for white. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, you need to get e5.
Isn't
If you
enough.
don't get e5, I can see this being a possible way.
Mhm.
Like after queen e7, maybe even f4. Just to hinder black from development. But yeah, there were probably also other moves than queen f6.
That's a really good question. Did they get extra money for a win, like in Go Cash Ding? Well, I don't know if
I
it was
don't think they
extra,
do.
right? So instead of the prize fund, instead of like just a certain amount of money won at the end of the competition, it was per win, wasn't it?
In the ding between and Gukash match, it was,
Yes. But I didn't
But
check
I-
the regulations properly,
right? I
so I'm
think
not
I
sure.
checked them. I think it's 60-40, just without this point system. But no guarantees. I think it should be 60-40 split between the winner and the loser.
Hmm. That would be cool though. Nice incentive, because
Yeah,
then you're
yeah.
guaranteed exciting chess.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't get exciting chess in this match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Queen b4, and are we gonna see queen takes d4 or rook d4?
Yes, black.
That's
Yeah. First is
Like
black
after queen
move,
f6, I guess, or something like that.
But queen f6 would kind of lose the tempo, right? If we want to play bishop e6. Because now we could play queen d4.
Yeah, no, yeah, of course. But maybe king g7. At least we get a centralized king for an endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we might see rook b8 just because the dark's good bishops are off the board? Just allowing for ideas like b5 and bishop b7.
You mean-
Just before that, yeah. So here, pawn takes. Alright, but then rook
B8
takes
here,
d4
yeah.
maybe.
No, it's possible. Makes sense to allow yourself to play bishop e6.
Or just giving up the pawn.
Yeah, I think bishop e6 immediately makes sense because you anyway don't want to take on b7. You will anyway take on d4, right?
As he-
Maybe it might be a consideration if rook d4 and something takes on b7 is possible, but if not, you will just play bishop e6 first.
Oh, we went over this already. Okay. We come back.
But yeah, I don't. There's a question in the chat: how does black stir up trouble here without throwing away the game? I think that the answer is simply that they don't. There's just
Yeah.
you cannot make anything happen here. This is already past the point. You just have to. You can make moves, trying to keep as many pieces on the board as possible, and just hope for something. But
Yeah, you can hope for your opponent to play something strange. Like I think this rook d4 might give small hopes to get a game with the queens on the board, like with rook d8.
Yeah, but a3, I think, anyways, like everything on the dark squares is just so straightforward, as we cannot defend b7
If I
too
play rook
comfortably.
d8,
But now we take it,
takes.
and now we take the pawn.
Yeah, my point was to get to d2. If you take on b7 with the bishop, it's probably fine, but you have rook b8. It can be a bit tricky.
Okay,
I mean,
so
probably
here,
you can also play h3 or something.
it's a
Probably bishop
pawn.
d5 is a threat.
I would like to keep it as a pawn.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any tactics here.
I guess I don't. Yeah. Okay, I cannot keep the pawn. I was very hopeful to take it and keep it.
You can play queen e4 probably. It's probably still fine. And queen b2, bishop b6. Probably you do get to exchange everything again. At least there was some small question. Yeah. But yeah, of course, in a classical game, it should be possible for a Jew to keep your nerves in these kind of situations.
Small question is better than no question.
Yes.
We saw a5 in the live position.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so putting pawns on the dark squares. I like that. Maybe she's gonna go rook a6 now after exchanging the queens.
Oh, she played bishop e6, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe her idea was here to put rook a6 and put the rook on b6, attacking the pawns, trying to put the white pawns on the light squares, forcing b3, and then defending b7 pawn, getting bishop out to e6, something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might have been a better try, actually.
I like this comment. Tan has remembered that the theme of this match has been winning drawn endgames, because that's the one decisive game for Tan there. And so she headed into like a rook and pawn ending that was just winning for her technically, and is trying to go towards that. Yeah. One
What
can
do
hope
do
and
here?
dream.
a3, I would expect to be played.
I would then rook d8.
Yeah, but we have...
At least black already has some luft with g6, so maybe black is kind of a tempo up in some situations.
But you have to defend the b7 pawn. Still.
Yeah, I like have to take
And of course now we have to make...
one.
H3.
Yeah, also fine. Yeah, you do get after b6, rook d6 or something. Oh, it's just very, very dry. Yeah, I was thinking if you can play bishop d5 also.
Just to end it.
Yeah.
Okay, but maybe here with please create some
Yes.
trick.
Yeah, that's the question. But I do
The
have
checkmate.
g3, right?
Oh man. F4.
No, I can hope that you try to go for mates, then I take the next one. Okay. But... Yeah, this might. Just...
Now we would like the pawn to be on a6 to be able to exchange and play rook c2 at least.
Yes, yes. Then you would actually win a pawn.
Not to have rook coming to b5. Yeah, because here we still have the problem that after exchanging, we have to take on e6, and now you get a pawn with a check.
Yeah. Yeah, so bishop d5 might force her to exchange everything.
Oh man. We should break out into like a rap song. Like at first the stakes are high, and now all the stake is dry.
The stake is dry.
Wiki wiki.
I was not ready for that.
And then we have
Yeah, this
Rasmus
steak
coming with
is
his
quite
jams.
dry here. Yes.
Steak is dry. Okay.
I mean, you can't even keep the bishop because bishop f5 runs into g4 and rook e7 coming.
And white is almost winning.
Oh,
Like, that
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
seems
Yeah.
not
You
only
have to
better,
take.
but it just seems. Yeah, if like you start to do something like this, rook comes to e7, like all the pawns are light squares, bishop centralized, it's like. Yeah, it's almost just winning advantage, I would say. Just. Everything falls apart.
Yeah. I don't know where she really went wrong in the opening. Maybe the preparation just completely went. Or didn't go wrong. You always have to gamble that your opponent doesn't really choose the line that's the most dry. Because she was still in preparation with this d5, right?
Yeah.
At least she blitzed it.
So maybe the idea would just imbalance things is to take the knight.
Yeah, or at least, I don't know. Probably it's a bad move, but
Uh,
like in this position, take on c3 or something. At least you get a game, right?
or to put this bishop on a7 to go
Yeah,
for
this
this
bishop
line.
c5 is, I think it's also one of the main lines.
But at least like the position looks stranger a
Yeah.
little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there's just b5 or some ideas like this, just completely dry it out. I don't know. If you want to, something forced. I don't know.
Yeah,
Really,
I think knight c2 and takes on d4 or something might be a line. Oh, bishop b2. I think there are some ways here also to exchange a lot,
or
but
rook
I
b1
think
and b5, b6 somewhere prepare.
keeps more life in the game for sure.
But because yeah, after 94 everything is so very forced. After c3 you have to play a6 and you don't have a way really. And like just here maybe she still could try something like not so sound, but like try something like knight g6, I think.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah,
course, white
I
is...
think b6 or something is a line, right?
Yeah, also b6.
Like
That's
a6
also in line.
b6 or knight g6. Some kind of dubious line you just have to try and hope for the best. Something that the opponent will not expect.
Yeah, because after this point, I think she played knight c6. You had to play, and maybe still this moment like something had to be more tricky prepared because Ju and Jun just played knight c2, which was the idea behind the knight a3 move, and everything was just she had to calculate this one idea.
Yeah, I
Find
did ask
d3.
myself if she could have tried queen takes d4 to play this endgame. So of course not great. I thought like at least maybe you can pretend to get this diagonal and develop somehow. Like long term, if I get to play this, like white would prefer to have the pawn on e3, but probably you can just play like something where you can create a bishop f4 rook c1.
Does feel like simply pretending.
Yeah.
We don't even manage anything like king e7, I think, and now trying to keep the square, it just seems...
That's what I considered, but it looks wrong. Like
even
probably
b4,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this bishop still doesn't get out.
Yeah, I mean, it's often just a recipe to lose if you try stuff like this. Try to
Poor bishop.
play too much for a win. Yeah, it's just very, very bad, probably.
Okay, so back to live board, I guess.
Yeah, she did play bishop d5.
It is on the board.
Oh wow.
And their ratings are quite close to each other, right? So a draw is just 0-0 in terms of rating gain and loss.
Basically, yeah.
I think if it's under 10 points, the difference, it is just 0.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if they calculate like 0.03 or some stuff like this sometimes. But probably they don't. But yeah, Ju will of course win a lot of rating, like 20 points from this match. And Tan will lose 20 points. I think she had quite a good year, but this will of course eradicate a lot of her progress in her rating.
Speaking of rating, Rasmus, you'll be playing soon. You're playing in Grenke?
Yes.
And how do you feel
But
about it? Are you
without
ready?
any rating. Without
Oh.
rating.
Oh, you're
Even
playing.
though
You're starting tomorrow already, right?
yeah. I'm traveling tomorrow. They start the first round always 6:30 in the evening.
Okay.
And it's in Germany, so I have some 6-hour train ride tomorrow. It's always tough. Like also double rounds, very very demanding schedule, but will be very interesting. But at least there's no rating on the line, even though they had this announcement that you can ask them to give you a freestyle rating. I don't know how that will work, but they had some kind of announcement. Like they started to have these freestyle ratings with the Weisenhaus events and so on.
Yeah.
So you're playing the
yeah.
entire event in this format, yeah? You're not starting with a classical chess or anything.
Yeah, they have this option to switch in the 5th round, but I decided to try this freestyle. Like it's probably not too many chances you get to play this with a classical time format. Of course, I wanted to be there for the first tournament, especially in Germany. It will be very interesting.
That is so cool. So wait, is there classical like standard and classical freestyle?
Yes, okay, it's a bit difficult. You say classical for like classical chess, but you also say classical for the time control.
Yeah, so standard would be like your regular.
We need to work a bit on our wording in the chess world, I think. Yeah, I mean it's with 90 minutes plus 30 seconds, so classical time control, but not in classical chess.
So the standard would be like your standard variant, normal chess.
Yeah.
So do they have that as well as
yes.
well as 960?
Yeah, most people actually play there. Like there's an A open, B open, and C open, and like the same for freestyle. And in the A open, actually, the prize fund is much bigger. For the freestyle open, I think in the B and C open, it's the same. But anyway, most people are playing in the standard opens. So, but in the A open freestyle, a lot more of the 2700 players and so on are playing.
Less at stake.
Like Carlsen and Karana and so on.
Okay.
Most of the guys who just played in Paris are traveling further to Karlsruhe. I think they're also playing. There's also a spot on the line for the next freestyle event in Las Vegas.
Wow.
So I will try to qualify
there you
for
go.
that.
We'll be watching your progress.
Seated.
Yeah.
I'm seated like 40th or something. I think I'm like 115 in the world or something. But in this tournament, I'm seated 45th or something. So really, half of the top players in the world are playing there. It will be a huge fight.
Well, we are here to prepare you, Rasmus. Who wins.
Yeah. Some rook ending now. It might be relevant.
Okay, rook c8, following our line. Still good with predictions.
You still got it.
Yeah. But how will it fizzle out to a draw actually exactly? Actually, like this. Okay. King f1. I thought she would play g3, and then I asked myself how will Tan actually force the draw here, because white's one move faster, right? I'm a bit proponent of rook endings. Like here after rook c2, rook b5. You would still be up a pawn.
Yeah.
And after b6, we do get rook d6, and we do have the more active rook. So actually, black still needs to be a bit careful. But king f1 is a bit signaling, like now if you take everything. Now there's rook c1, e2, rook c2. Still, I don't know if you can. But probably she just wants to like repeat the position here somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, just put the rook on 5th rank and or on
Yeah.
6th and b6, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is coming to an end very, very quickly.
Yeah. probably.
What's the estimate? 15 minutes and the game's gonna be over?
Or rather, maybe we can choose the number of moves. So 5 moves?
No,
No,
but
10
they need
moves.
to repeat, right?
That's true. So we'll
They
give them a
don't-
buffer.
Okay, this could be an invitation. I think it might still go for longer.
So maybe either 15 minutes or 15 moves.
Okay, I don't think it will be more than move 40. If I had to predict. More than 15 minutes, I think.
Oh, you think more than 15 minutes? Okay. Because Tan is gonna be thinking?
Yeah, I mean, if Jude gets something really without any risk, she will maybe still play. I mean, Tan will still have to play a few accurate moves, I have the feeling.
Maybe we go b5 now.
But now so if I takes, and take, then you
Oh,
get
you
rook
can take on
c2
f7, yeah.
in the end, yeah. You do get rook c2.
Yeah, rook c2.
But I can play a4 or b4. No, a4 is the only try. Otherwise, I lose a pawn.
That sounds like a dog.
That is a
And
dog.
The
yes,
only
walking
the only
by.
right way to deal with this is to show said dog on stream.
Dog just came, said hi, and left.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
Jesse, to disappoint you.
Day
Wait,
ruined.
rook b2 anyway wins the pawn. Sorry.
Yeah, I was looking at a4, but then what happens? So b4 is the way then. But if you play b4, then same thing. Rook takes
Yeah,
a2. How did we get to this point?
that's a good question.
Sorry,
it
I
was
looked at
after
chat for
b-
like 2 seconds. Yes.
After b5 in the
Oh,
position, and then
b5.
bishop takes it.
Okay.
But of course, white can also
Yeah,
just
white-
take back here and
Yes.
even not give the passed pawn. Although, just to show the final position there as well, like it was not that we are worried about anything from the white side here. Even if you look at the position here, that you lose the pawn, but you give a check, you force the king back almost, put the rook here, and you can never ever lose this with white. Like you have 0 risk. So, so yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's completely safe in every single scenario. So just we are not worried. Just looking at options.
Yeah.
And rook d6, it's inviting bishop takes b7, I guess.
It's a bit strange.
Is there some intermezzo maybe?
Okay, so her idea
Yeah.
is to invite here and play rook b8 and take those 2 pawns. b4 is controlled.
Yes. That might be a small trap, at least.
At least now we cannot play bishop d5 to rook d8, that is.
Yeah.
A rook d8.
So we don't actually...
Yeah. I was going to ask what if just bishop d5, because then, you know, at least bishop takes, rook takes, but yeah, rook d8 just seals that deal there.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, after we take on e6, I assume the idea is rook takes e6.
I'm keeping both rooks.
And...
Yeah, this will happen.
Oh, this will happen. The rooks will come off the board, I think,
Yeah,
and then
true.
rook will come to d5, forcing d6.
Ah, now the king is cut off. That's probably a point. Now you can't join with the king. That's why she played rook d6 probably.
And this will be just over immediately.
Yeah.
b3, a4, rook coming to b5 if need. And
I do actually have experience with these kind of rook end games. I had something similar where it looked completely innocuous, but it was still, I still had to be careful exactly in the structure. And somehow I allowed some pawn end game, and then immediately it was so tricky. Then I messed up in time trouble, and we reached some queen endgame with G pawn and queen against the queen at the Olympiad. I had to hold a draw, and we fought for 100 moves, and somehow I did it in the end.
That
But
sounds
yeah, I
tiring.
think allowing your pawn endgame is basically the only way where you can get into trouble in these kind of positions.
Did you say it was a draw at the end?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was lost, and then it was a draw and lost again. These queen endings are always so tricky, but somehow I did save the point, and our team won 2.5. So yeah, I was just an idiot to get into this situation at all. We should just have won the match before that, but somehow it worked out in the end.
Yeah, you just wanted to make your team sweat, that's it.
Yeah. I wanted to be the hero in the end, to save the draw instead of just making it 3 hours earlier. Yeah.
In proper fashion, proper content creator
Mhm.
fashion.
Yes.
For the
exactly.
content, paid actors, and
Yes.
everything. Right. Will you be streaming your games in Grenke?
No.
No.
I mean, with the camera, it will be very difficult. Like in Karlsruhe, it's so crowded always. Like, there's a stage where all the top players are playing, and usually, sometimes I get to play on the stage. Probably in this tournament not, because now I'm seated 40th. And okay, if it goes well, maybe in one of the later rounds. But in the beginning, there's always the first row of boards. It's like connected to the spectator area, and there are so many people standing there, so it's quite hard to move sometimes. So it will be will be a bit difficult to set up a streaming setup there.
Makes
But
sense.
yeah, of course, always very nice event with all the spectators. I mean, that's also what we kind of want as a sport, but it's kind of crowded there sometimes. 4,000 players and also a lot of spectators, and of course all the players who finish their games, they also often come and watch the top games.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I do know who's broadcasting there. He recently invested in these like massive cameras, I think like 10 of them. So there'll definitely be enough cameras in the hall to see all of the players.
Okay.
So I hope we'll be able to catch at least some of the action from that event.
I mean, there will be so many top players, and they don't all get to play on the stage, so people will also want to see them. I don't know if like the whole freestyle company is also going to invest in some more broadcasting stuff for the tournament. It will be interesting to see. And it's already tomorrow. It's a bit weird. Usually I travel to two tournaments a day before, but this time already playing tomorrow, but still sitting.
That's true, at home.
Yeah.
Does it mess with the psyche at all? Hopefully not.
Yes.
All right.
I mean, I do travel like for 6 hours. It's always very tough, and also playing at 7 in the evening. It's also only at this tournament that I do this, but at least in the first round, usually, it's a big open. Usually, I'm a big favorite, but still, you need to play the game well anyway.
Yeah, we'll be rooting for you. But Thomas, you'll also be playing soon?
Yeah, relatively soon. Actually, the time is coming, but still almost 2 weeks. Little bit more than 10 days. But yeah, we'll be playing national championship.
I will also play next month, actually, national championship.
We'll be trying to get for the first time to the World Cup. That's the goal while playing it. Not so much as the win in the championship, which is a nice bonus, but since my team won one of the spots in the previous Olympiad, so now we're playing it out during the championship. Who gets to go?
Oh wow, that's gonna be intense. Lovely.
Did you play the World Cup before, actually?
No, I didn't. That's why I really want to get there.
Yeah,
because
really very, very big and fun event, always.
Where is the Open World Cup held this year?
In India?
India.
No,
right.
no, it's not held.
I think they're held separately. So the Women's World Cup is in Georgia, in Batumi.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. No, I think
No,
it's
no,
not
Baku. It's
officially announced
Azerbaijan.
yet. Okay.
Oh, actually, I don't
It's-
know. One of the two. And then
Yeah, there are no official regulations yet, but there was kind of articles that
Yeah,
were suggesting that it's in India.
yeah.
Okay.
And you also mentioned that you're playing a tournament soon, right?
Yes.
Or that you didn't want to prepare for it.
Not that I didn't want to. I just preferred the commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll be playing on from the 26th until the 1st, also double rounds every day, classical games, so it's going to be quite hard
Yeah.
on the energy. And then playing quite a bit next month is African Championship in Egypt, and then I'll probably play some other tournament in between that and the one in Vigevano or Milan. I'm looking at the one in Bulgaria. So it's like,
Busy schedule, yeah.
yeah, it's going to be tough, and I haven't played in almost 6 months. So
Yeah.
what do you find is
Yeah.
the easiest way to prepare, Rasmus, for a tournament that's coming up? Maybe if you don't have enough sort of time in the months leading up to the event, like maybe 10 days before, what do you focus on the most?
Maybe if you haven't played for 6 months, probably just playing some games.
That's
Maybe
what I wanted to say. The
Yeah,
best
yeah.
preparation for tournament is play a tournament.
Yeah. I have the feeling like rapid games and it's very
Rapid.
good.
Okay.
If you play online, it's sometimes difficult to play an opponent, and often we are not used to playing rapid games because we're used to playing these 3-minute games all the time. Because in rapid pool, first of all, you often don't have the patience when you play online to play those games, and often you don't get a pairing so quickly. But I think rapid games are very good training, and solving tactics, looking at some openings, just like getting into the mood of playing chess somehow. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like one of those like catch-22 moments where it's like you want to be prepared for a tournament, but in order to prepare, you have to play. It's like, applying for a job just fresh out of university or something, but you need like 20 years of experience. It's one of those situations. Is this live? This is the live board right now.
Yeah.
Exactly as predicted. And then rook
Yeah,
d5.
and I expect rook. Okay, rook d7. Same thing, I guess.
She wants to provoke rook b6 for some reason. Yeah, what might happen here is rook b6, b3, rook b4, followed by a4. Maybe that's the way they want to exchange all the pawns. Yeah, I think Tan has probably accepted her fate. But she's not going to win today.
And then we see king going back and forth and a draw.
Yeah.
Do you see the question in chat, Rasmus?
Yes. No, I don't think so. But okay, it might happen at some point that they make these opening files for 960 starting positions. But I think it will be very hard to. I think it will be very hard for most people to memorize all of these positions. But what I think will happen is that just people get more used to playing chess 960 and get used to the ideas in the opening, and that's kind of the same as preparing. Like often they're quite similar ideas in the opening. In similar positions, like if your queen is on a1, there are some typical ideas, or if your rook is on g1 or whatever. So this is what they're going to learn, but I doubt that most people will really try to memorize 960 starting positions.
And what are your thoughts, like, actually on the same topic, if we're already here, why they are announcing the position sometime before the round, not just 1 minute before the round starts? That it would be, if the idea is that there will be no analysis, why do they allow to analyze it before the game?
Yeah,
No, I think at at the freestyle tournaments, the idea is probably they find it really cool to see the players analyzing together, and it's of course a very interesting segment. I also like to watch this in my preparation for the freestyle tournament that I'm playing now.
Yeah.
To see how the top players are discussing the positions, you can learn a lot. But on the other hand, like it can lead to, like we also saw in Paris, that many players are playing the same stuff in the opening, which would not happen if they wouldn't discuss the position before. So I think in
And it's
Karlsruhe they will also probably just announce the position right before the round, and everybody will have to play immediately. That's what I think.
and it also comes a little bit to the situation like it used to be with adjourned games, that whoever has a better team has a better
Yeah.
opening preparation.
Yeah.
I like this that you mentioned, you receive the position like a couple minutes before or moments before the match, and you have this like separation of players where they go and like analyze different like things together, because obviously half the field will be playing white, half of them will be playing black, and then there are some like footage or videos from the freestyle event where they're discussing all these things. And I think at some point Fabiano even said there's like the universal setup that is good in any instance. And I'm trying to find the article where it actually mentioned this, and I'm struggling to. But they're all standing around, and even Carlsen had these like crazy ideas, or it was just very interesting to see the top players discussing opening ideas, and also from the pictures. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. They might reconsider this because openings are often developing in the same way because they're discussing them together. But yeah, there's of course this huge upside that the segment where they're discussing together is very interesting. But yeah, I think apart from these top player tournaments that they organize at the moment, probably most other freestyle tournaments will just be without discussions. Like there was some tournament in Kiel, for example, a few weeks ago with Donchenko was first seeded player there. I don't think they had this discussion sessions. They probably just started playing immediately.
Yeah, I'll put the link in chat. So they say the historic moment that Nepo created the Nepo Gambit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And returning to the current event.
Sorry. Yes.
Any development here? Any thoughts new? Rasmus, can the g4 pawn become weak sometimes, and the king can get crazy and ever cause any trouble for white?
Probably not, but I'm a bit surprised that she played g4. I don't know why she would do this. At least it gives black some kind of potential target. Maybe it signals that she's trying to... I mean, it doesn't really make sense to play for a win here or anything. I would just have gone g3, honestly. And like h5, h4, I can answer it like that. Maybe she's a bit worried that she can never move a king to g2 because of rook e2 always. But yeah, rook d7, I would also prefer to have my rook on d5 here. But yeah, I mean, if she just plays h4 or anything, it's probably not an issue.
Or rook d5 immediately.
Yeah, and then this might be a repetition, but
or
I mean, she can play rook d6 maybe.
She went rook b7, just trying to tie down black's position. So I was wondering, yeah, playing h6 and king g5 as an idea here.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. Like she can play h3, probably.
Can I still go for it though? You take king h4.
I have rook f3, right?
Oh, rook comes from the third rank. That's true.
Or even king g2 and rook f6.
I am not in time to cause anything there. Yeah. Okay. It's tough to untangle, of course, because the pawns are hanging. So she plays h5, which, yeah, okay. So now the g4 pawn is not an issue, and it gets
Honestly, it looks like it's slightly more pleasant for black by now. Okay. Yeah, okay, she can bring her king. Like rook e2 is not possible because rook is attacking the pawn on b6. I mean, anything is just completely drawn in this rook endgame. I was just slightly surprised how she played it, but probably both sides will just move back and forth by now. Now they
Yeah,
also
they're just
very quickly.
They're
move
playing
40
really
is coming
fast.
in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That's my estimate, and that's it.
Yeah.
Probably she's thinking h4, a4. Does she need it? Does she not? Because now technically a rook can move, as there is no check on the 6th rank. But maybe, yeah, h4 seems like a natural move. We don't really need it, but just
Yeah.
something you do.
It also comes to mind for me. Yeah. Don't know why exactly. Okay, at some point anyway, black can play king g5, h4, and provoke this h4. No reason not to advance the pawn a little bit.
You know, maybe you making a mistake is as easy as trying to keep equality here. You also don't want to overextend. But as you mentioned, like ideas of a4 or just a3, b4 are just possible, right, to simplify.
I don't think we need to simplify. I just think moving around by now, black cannot really improve.
Here we can still sometimes worry about a4 and an a3 pawn, theoretically sometimes being more advanced than the b pawn. Just a small note, I think we are needing a small refresh on the small board.
Okay, yeah, let me do that real quick. Thank you for letting me know.
Because the position, that is way more advanced. This is what we have on the board. And they're still not thinking really about anything anymore. The match is over. I think we can just say the match is over. And we are having our last moments of commentating on this World Championship match right now.
Yeah, despite our off-topic conversations. But yeah, this could very well be the final moments of the match. And I mean, we were talking about the prediction. We were talking about how likely is it for Tan to just bounce back and win with the black pieces. But it's also thinking about, you know, do you cut your losses, go for a draw and just accept the fate of the match at the end?
I mean, you're also at the mercy of your opponent. I mean, Drew just played a very fine game. Didn't really give her any chances today. If you want to win, especially with black, you also need some help from your opponent.
Yeah, Drew did perfect job just to dry this game out. By playing from the position of strength, she just completely controlled everything, and there was no way.
Yeah, now they are probably going to repeat.
Till the move 40, just repeating.
Yeah, it's always a bit strange situation when you're repeating and exactly reaching move 40. Probably they'll reach move 40 maybe first. I mean, you don't want to claim a draw with white on move 40, one move before you can offer.
Yeah, imagine, maybe that's a mind game, opponent, like you play, okay, you know that white is not going to feel comfortable to claim draw on move 39, and then you make a different move and you go for for a win.
Oh no.
And there is this mind game that, oh no, I could have been the match could be over, I would be a champion, and I'm still playing on.
Yeah.
That would indeed be very unexpected. It's like the cliffhanger and then boom, something happens.
Yeah, of course, a difficult moment for Tan, but yeah, of course, it already went wrong in the last few games. Probably, and my feeling was in the last, like after the game 6, where she was down by 2 points. My feeling was that she also maybe lost one or both games because she was too much. Okay, yeah, it's difficult to say, of course, but she was trying a lot to keep the game alive and still getting winning chances when the position was maybe just a draw because she was trading in the match, and then it can just backfire, and it somehow did for her in the last two games.
Yeah,
it
she
also
tried. She really tried, and it just didn't work out. Also, there is such a factor. Sometimes there is this thing that you cannot be in your optimal shape. You know, you can do everything, but something is just that maybe your optimal shape would be coming like 1 week later or something like this, however you prepare. And just in this moment, it's this decisive moments are like something is a little bit not enough there. You know, just the games are good, they were tough. Fighting games every single round, but just at some point, just Ju and Jin was more stable, more convincing, and it's added up.
Yeah, I have the feeling like one of the most important games of the match was this game 3 that really set the tone for the match. Like also showed the mental toughness of Ju, that after the loss she immediately managed to strike back in this long end game. If that game would have been a draw, I guess the match could have gone very, very differently. And then
And
after
it,
that, she lost
no,
like 2 games later.
no, but also in the round 4, Tan had a winning end game, and
Yeah,
she missed the win in that one,
Sh-
and
could
yeah,
also
it
have changed a lot.
was
Yeah.
2 in a row, like missed chances. I think it's like also, it's
Mhm.
different than one missed chance, but 2 in a row.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
now
see that.
probably it's 3 times repetition already, right?
After Rook
I think
B7, we have third
twice.
time.
Okay.
Is she claiming it? She might be claiming it. That's why we don't see immediate Rook B7
She's
because she's
probably
right.
claiming it. It's move 39.
Yeah, she's writing down the move Rook B7, saying stopping the clock, asking the arbiter to for threefold repetition.
Yeah, I realized
Yeah.
even a lot of strong players don't know how to claim correctly. And this has been seen quite a number of times in tournaments I've been at. But for sure, she will know exactly
She
what to
will
do here.
she will know what to do. Yeah.
Yes.
She's not a world champion for nothing.
Very
That
true.
might have been
Five times now probably.
maybe that was one of the things that she had to prepare for today's game. All the ways how she can claim a draw correctly in all sorts of situations where it could be
Oh dear.
important.
So you have to train on and off the board. These things.
Do you know when the next world championship match will be? It's probably also in 2 years.
Well, the candidates is next year in April, as we saw. So I'm assuming just maybe at the end of next year, yeah, or in 2027.
Yeah, sometimes they do it once every year, so it might be end of next year. Who knows? But yeah, she will be a 5-time world champion now. That's quite impressive.
And there's a handshake. So we have some spies there on the other broadcast where there's cameras, and she claimed
And
it.
we have a result also just here for us. It's already visible, but the time is not moving anymore. There's just a draw.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. This was a very quiet and peaceful game at the end. It was fun to talk about different variations and also outcomes, and how likely it was for Tan to sort of bounce back after the 4 losses. Unfortunately, she was unable to do so, and just a simple draw for Ju, and June has secured her title. And Rasmus, you mentioned that it has her 5th title. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think she initially beat Tan in a match, right? And then she defended her title in a knockout tournament, and then she defended it also against Goryachkina and Lei Tingjie, and now again today. So she's been a champion for many years now. It will be interesting to see who can challenge her in the next years. Of course, the top players from from the present times, and there are also some up-and-coming young players. But yeah, she was very convincing, very deserving win in this match, and she will be a force to reckon with for the years to come. Yeah.
Indeed. I like what you said there. And Thomas, who do you think, or who would you like to see challenge Zhu and Zhu in the next match?
Who I would like to? Oh, I guess I'm not gonna give any names. I
Okay.
don't have any like particular favorites, but I think it would be interesting to see somebody, let's say that from the next generation compared to Zhu and Jin. Like it would be just. It's always exciting when it's this clash of generations, like somebody new and upcoming and very strong, but playing against somebody super experienced and also still very strong.
Yes, exactly. It'd be
Yeah.
great to see someone like Nurgul or perhaps Vaishali, like you said, from the new generation and up and coming. It's also great to see, someone like Zhu and Jun defend her title so many times. It sort of shows us her tenacity and ability to do so and her strength. So this has been a very interesting, crazy, exciting match. And yeah, no day has been easy for us to predict what is going to happen. So any sort of final remarks about the match and yeah, thoughts?
I would say thank you to you guys. You've been commentating for the last 2 weeks. I've only been a guest today, but I think you've done a great job guiding us through the last 2 weeks. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks Rasmus for joining. Thank you, Jesse, for managing to keep up with me not being able to process everything what's happening around, just being too chess focused here. And it's been a pleasure. Been a really it was very, very nice, and big congratulations to Zhu and Jin, the most importantly, just attaining her world champion title. Truly impressive performance.
Yes, I'd like to thank my co-commentators, our special guests, especially Rasmus and of course Thomas, who was here throughout the entire duration, putting up with my really bad humor and also trying to get us back on track talking about the chess. So thank you so much. As you mentioned, congratulations to Zhu and Jun for winning the match, and also thank you to our audience. Thank you to chat members for being here and asking questions and making us laugh, and also posing some very interesting problems that we then had to continue to solve over and above the games that we were looking at. But yeah, it has been a great 2 weeks. Thank you to Lichess for allowing us this opportunity to take over the channel, and also thank you, Toms, for that that one moment where my power just died and you heroically came in and started the stream back up. So thank you so much. But yeah, this has been a great, as I mentioned, period. And I think this is also a perfect opportunity for us to end the stream. And it, brings us to a close. This is the end of the Women's World Championship match. So I hope to work with you guys again at some point in the future. Also, good luck for the tournaments that you'll be playing really soon. And yeah, this is goodbye.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, and goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.